Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we're pleased to be joined by my good friend Trent Hindman, of course, who will be part of the Wright Motorsports number 16 team competing this weekend at the 6 Hours at the Glen. How's it going, Trent?
It's going, Casey. How are you, man? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, doing well, man. So kind of talk about, I know you've been in some endurance races and all that. You haven't been out there in a long time, but what's it been like to finally get back out there?
Yeah, so obviously endurance racing, IMSA is sort of my realm and place where I've been fortunate to drive and make a living over the last couple of years. It's been 2 years since we've been at Watkins Glen, which is our race upcoming this weekend, the 6 Hours of the Glen. Unfortunately, last year, of course, because of a global pandemic, we weren't able to run the 6 hour. But first time back at Watkins in 2 years. It's awesome. It's an amazing track. I think the best in the world. It's also sort of my home track since I'm only about 4 hours south of there in New Jersey. So excited to be there. Especially excited to be with the Wright Motorsports squad. I was able to do the Rolex 24 and 12 Hours of Sebring with those guys earlier this year. I mean, driving with a legend like Pat Long and, Jan Halen too. Those guys are just awesome. Great teachers, great dudes. The whole team is just an incredible group of people. So it's really a pleasure to be with them and be back at Watkins Glen.
Yeah. So kind of talk about, I know you're just an endurance driver doing, you'll be at Petit Le Mans as well. Kind of talk about what you do during when you're not racing.
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, over this last week, that has changed. That status of being the endurance sort of third guy has changed. Ryan Hardwick had made the decision to step out of the 16 First Form Wright Motorsports Porsche. Unfortunately, the guys at Wright Motorsports, Johnny Wright, Bob Viglione, Patrick, Jan, fortunately amongst all those guys, they made the decision to have me with Pat driving even in the sprint races for the remainder of the GTD season. So I'm really looking forward to that. Just more time in a 911, more time with a great group of people that I can certainly learn a lot from. So I think there's a really good opportunity here to maybe make some things happen for the future. But first things first, we got to get Patrick an overall championship here. That's the goal. That's the mission. And, I'm just a cog in that machine, but I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. But to answer your question, away from the racetrack and the time between, there's really never a whole lot of time in between. Most drivers, not just me, we've got sort of private clientele that we go and we coach when we have the opportunity to between weekends. It helps us keep our skills sharp at the same time. At least in the weekdays between those weekends of driving or coaching, it's a lot of time just reviewing data, reviewing past event notes, going over event notes for the upcoming event. It's just a lot of debriefing and then re-preparation work for your next event. So it's not all champagne and fast cars and good looking girls all the time. Rarely the third there, I will admit, but it's a lot of work, a lot of data analysis, a lot of note taking, and a lot of revisiting that data and those notes in order to A, better your own ability, and then B, also prepare yourself for what's coming next.
Yeah. So you're going to Watkins Glen. Kind of explain what going there and what it's like to get around that place.
Dude, Watkins Glen is hands down, I think, the best track on planet Earth. I know you're going to you talk to any German, and the Nürburgring Nordschleife is obviously it. You talk to, any driver from Italy, then, Monza or Imola is the place, which I, by no means can I say anything negative about any of those places. They're absolutely incredible. But Watkins Glen, at least if you're an American, that's the place. That's where it's at. It's super high speed. Super high commitment. The walls are close. Your average lap speed is super high. You've got tons of elevation change. I mean, the track itself sits on top of a mountain that overlooks Lake Seneca. It's just beautiful. The whole thing is beautiful. So to have the opportunity to race for 6 hours around there and piece of machinery like the Porsche 911 GT3R, sorry. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable opportunity, I will say.
Yeah. So of course I know that, you're going to be in the car more often. I know, and you're going to be back at Watkins Glen next week
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
with the race at Canadian Tire getting canceled because of the COVID situation in Canada. What's it going to be like running the same track, for 2 straight weeks?
This is a situation that I don't really recall IMSA, the WeatherTech Championship, and even going back to the Tudor Championship, as we, IMSA as we know it post merger, has ever had, where we've had 2 race weekends back to back at the same facility. So that's kind of new to everybody in the, what has it been now, 7 years since post merger. So I think everybody's who's running the 6-hour inherently will have an advantage when they come back for that Thursday, Friday WeatherTech 240 sprint weekend. I don't know if all teams are going to be doing both events. Some might just do the 6-hour, some might just do the sprint event. But I know those who are doing the 6-hour and planning on doing the WeatherTech 240, they're definitely going to be at a distinct advantage just with having all the extra data and track time. So that's for sure. But in terms of the turnaround between events, the short period of time to get cars re-prepped and ready to go, that's maybe a disadvantage to the teams and drivers that are running the 6-hour. It's always a hot race. It's always humid. It's definitely a physically exerting race, and you've got 2.5 days to rest up and recover and get the cars re-prepped and ready to go for a whole separate race weekend. So challenges all across the board, no matter what your position is. But to be honest with you, being in a position to drive in a 6-hour race on Sunday and then turn around and do another 2-hour 40-minute race 4 days later, I'm definitely not complaining.
Yeah. So I know that you've bounced around to so many teams and stuff, and endurance driver here, you did some stuff over there, and it's hard to keep up with where you've been for so long. I know you've bounced around, but that's typically what a lot of IMSA guys do. What's it been like to just go around and have all these teams and say, hey, like, why don't you come race for me?
Casey, it's hard for me to even keep up with too. You see names or you see faces in the paddock, and you have a hard time, occasionally putting the name to it, just because it's, you've had the opportunity to work with so many people and learn from so many people. That's really the big thing, and that's really what I can say about this whole experience of working with different organizations over the last couple of years. It's been nothing but a learning experience and learning process for me, and I'm very fortunate to have a great relationship with everybody that I have had worked with over that time period. All the jumping around, all the splitting up, whatever, unfortunately, at least in my case, it was just down to, hey, this is the direction that the team's going. This is the direction that I need to go if I want to continue, kind of on my growth path and where I want to be and what I want to do in this sport and in this lifetime. And, it made sense to go separate ways, but that doesn't often mean it was a negative ending. And I think that applies to most guys and gals who are in the same position as me. They're just trying to find their way through, trying to make sure that they're in the best opportunity that provides the most growth. But then B, you got to put yourself in a position where you can win races and win championships. And fortunately, being with Wright Motorsports, I've competed against these guys over the last couple of years. It's surely been a pain in the behind to try and beat them. So to be with them is a totally different story. And it's also eye-opening for me, because now you see the method behind their madness. And, this is a place where I'd really like to be for a long time.
And what do you think about your chances, with the 6 hours, trying to navigate with all these different classes of cars, and they're all going to be there?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
What's that going to be like?
Yeah. I mean, these long distance IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship races are crazy in the sense that you got 5 different categories, DPI, LMP2, LMP3, GTLM and GTD all on track at the same time. It becomes a little bit more clear once you're in the rhythm and the flow of things, but race starts, restarts, even just procedures like your safety car procedures under full course yellow, who can pit when, pass arounds, class splits, all that. It gets pretty complicated after a while when you have that many categories, but that's where having a really good team around you is super important. The guys up on the Right Motorsports pit box are awesome with communicating to the driver what they need to do and when, so we can relax, take that time during this, stressful safety car periods, for example, and catch our breath a little bit and kind of game plan what we're going to do as drivers moving forward, not just trying to keep track of a rule set, so to say. In terms of coexistence, though, racing side by side with everybody on track, it's not bad at all. You got to keep in mind the level of driver that you have across the board in the WeatherTech Championship. It's just so high. Even when it comes to the quote unquote amateur drivers or gentleman drivers, you stick them in any championship anywhere else across the world. These are some pretty talented guys and gals. They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna figure it out quick. They already are quick. So there's no shortage of talent, at least in the depth of the IMSA field. And that just makes our job as drivers easier because we know we can lean on one another. We know there's a level of predictability there that we're not, kind of in the back of our minds worrying about like, oh, what's this guy going to do? It's totally a situation where it's you can let it play itself out just because you can trust the guys around you.
Yeah. All right. Well, Trent, good luck this weekend at the 6 Hours at the Glen, and congrats, on getting the ride with Wright. And
yeah, no worries.
And let's have you back on again, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your well wishes, man. Thank you.